Picture this. You're in a trench. It's 2 a.m. You're not supposed to be here. You dropped in 30 seconds ago, silently. The sentry didn't hear you coming. Your boots are in the mud, your back is against the trench wall, and somewhere around the next corner there are voices. Casual, relaxed, men who have no idea what just came over their wire. Your face is blackened with burnt cork. You have no rifle. Too long, too loud, too slow for this. What you have is a club. Homemade, wooden handle, metal stud through the end. A knife on your belt, a grenade in your pocket for when silence stops mattering. That's it. You take one breath, then you move around the corner. Hey guys, let's talk about what it actually feels like to crawl through no man's land in the middle of the night with a club in your hand and drop into a trench full of people who want to kill you. Let's back up. It's 1915. The Western Front has been locked in a stalemate for months. Two massive armies facing each other across a strip of destroyed land that runs 470 miles from the Belgian coast all the way to the Swiss border. Neither side can advance. Every time they try, machine guns cut them down before they get halfway across. So they dig deeper, longer, more elaborate, and they wait. The problem with waiting is that waiting tells you nothing. You don't know what units are opposite you. You don't know their strength. You don't know anything about what's happening 80 yards away. So someone at high command has an idea. Go find out. Trench raids were pioneered by the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry in February 1915. Small teams of men crossing no man's land at night, infiltrating enemy trenches, gathering intelligence, taking prisoners, causing as much damage as possible, and getting back before dawn. The concept spread fast. By 1916, raids were standard practice across the entire Western Front on both sides. British, Canadian, Australian, German, French, everyone was doing it. Here's the thing about no man's land that makes all of this so much worse than it sounds. This was not open countryside. This was one of the most hostile environments human beings have ever created. The average width between the frontline trenches was around 250 yards, though in some sectors it closed to as little as 50. The ground itself was a wasteland. Months of artillery bombardment had turned it into a cratered moonscape of mud, standing water, and rusted wire. In the areas most likely to be attacked, there could be 10 separate belts of barbed wire to cut through before you reach the enemy trench. And scattered throughout, the bodies of men from previous attacks that nobody could retrieve without being shot themselves. You crawled through all of that at night in silence. Let's talk about the weapons. This is where it gets strange. Because the First World War is remembered as the first modern industrial war, poison gas, artillery barrages, machine guns, aircraft, the war that invented the 20th century's way of killing. But in the trenches at 2 a.m., you were fighting like it was the medieval period. Rifles were useless for raiding. Too long to maneuver in the confined space of a trench, too loud the moment you fired. So raiders stripped back to the essentials. Knives, clubs, sharpened entrenching tools. The club was the signature weapon of the trench raider, and soldiers made them by hand, in the trenches, with whatever materials were available. A table leg studded with nails, a wooden handle with a metal weight at the end. Simple, silent, and brutal in a way that felt completely disconnected from the industrial scale of everything happening around it. The Americans brought their own contribution when they arrived in 1917. The M1911 Colt .45 pistol for close quarters firepower, and the Winchester Model 1897 trench shotgun, a pump-action weapon firing buckshot that could clear a trench bay in seconds. Germany was so alarmed by its effectiveness that they formally protested its use as a war crime in September 1918, threatening to execute any soldier captured carrying one, a shotgun. Declared a war crime in a war that used poison gas. Let that sit for a second. So let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body right now. You're in the enemy trench, back against the wall, club in your hand, voices around the corner. And your body is doing something very specific that has nothing to do with bravery or training or how many times you've done this before. It's trying to save your life, whether you want it to or not. The moment you climbed out of your own trench 25 minutes ago, your hypothalamus sent an emergency signal to your adrenal glands. Those glands sit on top of your kidneys, and their job at this moment is simple: flood the system. Adrenaline and cortisol hit your bloodstream within seconds. Your heart rate jumps from around 70 beats per minute to somewhere between 120 and 180. Your pupils dilate. Your blood gets pushed away from your skin and toward your major muscle groups. Your liver dumps stored glucose into your blood for immediate energy. Your body has correctly identified this as a life or death situation. But here's what nobody tells you about extreme fear. It doesn't feel like panic. Not at first. It feels like clarity. Everything sharpens. Sounds become enormous. At this level of adrenaline, your hearing sensitivity increases dramatically. A rat moving through the mud 20 yards away sounds like a footstep. A breeze through the wire sounds like a voice. Survivors describe no man's land as the loudest silence they had ever experienced. Your vision has narrowed to a tunnel. Your brain is allocating every available resource to the immediate threat directly in front of you. Everything outside that tunnel doesn't exist. What happens next is exactly what you trained for and nothing like what you trained for simultaneously. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning, moral judgment, hesitation, is being bypassed almost entirely. You are not thinking, you are reacting. You do what you came to do. Documents from a dugout, a rough count of the positions, enough to justify the raid. 30 seconds in the trench, maybe 40. Time to go. You pull yourself out and back into no man's land. This is the part that kills most raiders, not the entry, the exit. The adrenaline that made you sharp going in is now accumulating as lactic acid in your muscles. Your legs are heavy, your breathing is ragged. You've been running on emergency fuel for 30 minutes, and the bill is coming due. Then a flare goes up, directly above you. A parachute flare hangs in the air like a small sun, burning for 30 to 60 seconds. In those seconds, no man's land goes from absolute darkness to something close to daylight. Every shell crater, every stretch of wire, every figure moving through the mud is completely visible, including you. You drop into the nearest shell crater. The machine gun opens up immediately. The German MG-08 fires 400 rounds per minute. At 60 yards, it doesn't need to be accurate. It just needs to cover the ground and let mathematics do the rest. The flare dies. Dark again. You move. You can see your own parapet now, 20 yards. Then the artillery starts. The Germans have called in a box barrage, a curtain of shellfire designed to seal off no man's land and trap whatever is still in it. The first shell lands 30 yards to your right. You keep moving. The second one lands close, very close. You don't see it. You don't hear it the way you'd expect. The explosion is so fast that the sound arrives after everything else. What arrives first is the pressure wave. When a high explosive shell detonates, it doesn't just throw metal outward. It creates a supersonic wave of compressed air that expands in all directions at around 1,600 feet per second. This wave passes through your body faster than your body can respond. And here's the thing about pressure waves. They don't care about your uniform, your helmet, your training. They pass straight through solid matter, through skin, muscle, bone, through you. The lungs are the first to go. Air-filled organs are uniquely vulnerable to blast pressure. The wave compresses and re-expands the lung tissue so rapidly that the alveoli, the tiny air sacs responsible for oxygen exchange, rupture. Both lungs simultaneously. No entry wound, no exit wound. Just internal hemorrhage, invisible from the outside. The brain is next. Your skull is a sealed container. The pressure wave enters through every opening, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and compresses the fluid surrounding your brain. That fluid has nowhere to go. The resulting pressure spike causes diffuse axonal injury. The nerve fibers that connect different regions of your brain are sheared apart by the force. You don't feel this. Your brain doesn't have pain receptors for that kind of damage. What you feel is nothing. From the outside, it looks peaceful. From the inside, well, there is no inside anymore.